anyone would be spinning today, but we never know.
You just never know. That's the thing. This is awesome. White Scarver, he's a couple tenths up on his lap, and it looks like he won't quite make it. It was an invalid lap, unfortunately for him. About 2 tenths up. That's worth a couple positions at this point for him. Might be able to crack that, crack into top 8, maybe top 7 if he can put that lap together. This will be the final lap as they cross the line. Of course, the silver drivers do end their qualifying at 10 minutes, and the pros are released. So you can see only the top 16 putting laps in at the moment as the pro cars are going to start lining up at the end of the pit lane to release themselves here soon. That 149.32 and that Ford Mustang GT3 from McCroat is going to stand at the top of the leaderboard for the moment. He is currently down on his lap as well. I don't think he'll be making it up. I'm looking at P2, however, which is that BMW of ARCT. He is a little bit up on his lap. He's not too far down from P1. He might be able to put it together. He's about a minute to the start-finish line until he's going to be able to get there, but he's about 2 tenths up. If he can make up a couple tenths, he might be able to challenge for that P1, as P1 and P3 both just put themselves in the pit lane and abandoned whatever lap they had. Looking back down the field, a couple drivers up in P11, P12, P13 on a couple laps. We'll see what they do, but I'm focused right now on this BMW. I think he's got it in him. I know he lost a little bit of time in Sector 3, but he's just slid a little tiny bit there coming out of that last chicane, and that's going to cost him a tenth or two. Coming into Ravazza here, he's going to go hard on the brakes as he makes that left-hand turn into the third to last corner, because of course the kink is also a corner. Here he comes around, still up on his lap, but I don't think it's going to do it. He's going to come up about a tenth, maybe a tenth and a half. That's going to solidify him into P2 for sure. No one is going to be able to catch up back to him, and that BMW does put in a 41.267 pretty dang quick for these guys here. They are going to abandon their laps and get back to the pit lane so the pro drivers can release, and of course they are coming around the track now. We're going to jump back over, I believe, to car 29 and take an onboard lap down this beautiful circuit. Car 29, of course, sorry, prompting Curtis here. Car 29. P29. Car 87, I'm sorry, P29. My broadcasting tool. P29 of Anastasi. Now, of course, this was the man who took second with his teammate yesterday. We're going to jump to an onboard camera, take a beautiful lap of this circuit. If we can see what's going to happen with this guy. He's coming around Ravazza in his Ferrari 296 GT3 car. And hard onto the gas, up into third. Winding that Ferrari all the way up, trying to take a little bit more of that track as he crosses the line here at the second right-hander down the straight. There's the line. He's going to cut as much of the corner as possible, try and get as close to the wall as he can, drift out to the left, make it all the way to the right, point himself towards corner, hard on the brakes, down into second gear. Take that left-hand turn as much of the curve as possible, around the right, looking good so far. Up to third gear, out onto this part of the straight, up into fourth, and then coming in to the second shed of the cane, Variante Alte, Variante Villeneuve, as he makes the right-hand corner and then into Tossa. He's going to go all the way to the right into third gear and then down to second. Doesn't quite clip the first part of the apex, might lose a half-tenth there or so as he releases back onto the straight, out through T8 to the kink here, and then into T9. Into Piratella and turn 10. You dab of the brake here, down into second in the Ferrari here. Take as much of the curb on the outside as possible as you try and set yourself up for Aqua Minerale. You want to dab of the brake here, into the right, downshift, and then into the right corner again. Use as much of the curb on the exit, try and cut as much as you can, and then into the run into the final chicane. Variante Alte, turn 14 and 15. Catch the curb on the left because you can dodge the grass and then jump the curbs here as much as possible. Those sausages will throw you if you're not careful, but if you know where to hit them, they will really do you well. And you just got to be careful of the track limits during the race. And then down into Ravazza once again for his first time lap. Hard on the brakes. Down into second gear once again. Clip as much of the curb as possible. Use as much of the curb on the outside again. Do you see a trend here with Imola? Curbs, curbs, curbs. That is the big tell. Out onto the straight. He's going to come across the line. The 105 car, 222 behind him. We're going to see what these guys can put on for their first lap. Across the line he will be. And what is it? It is actually not a very quick lap. A 142.547. The 105 Nick Son puts in a 142.050. But it's Jared Troxiclair in the 222 who puts in the 141.375. taking pole position for the pro cars so far on the first lap. Still can't even touch that Ford Mustang though. And Aaron, I don't know about you, but I don't take me wrong, I think these pros will get ahead of that 140.9, but Ivan McCroat really throwing down the gauntlet in that silver class for his Mustang.
Of course. That is the time to beat, honestly. If anyone can beat that time, it's going to be our fast drivers tonight.
Yeah, the fast drivers will definitely be the ones. Here's Jared Troxclair. He was the one who set that fastest lap, of course, for the pro team. He is still a few tenths up on this lap as well. That will provisionally, if he crossed the line now, put him potentially into P1. He's losing just a little bit of time here, but looking down through the field, of course, all these pro drivers are up on their laps. John Archie in the 85 putting in a 5th place at a 141.6, and Kevin Kovac rivaling him just a half a tenth off in the 128. The Neon Blade Runners driver here really doing his best to slam this car. You can see him just jumping those curbs. As a 720 driver myself, I know just how dangerous those curbs can be, but he's gonna make the run down into Ravaza. This is where I think the McLaren really does well. I felt just so solid with the setup I was running through Ravaza yesterday. It just feels so good when you get it right. The problem here at Imola, of course, is getting it right. And unfortunately for Jared, he didn't get it quite as right as he should have as he should have that particular lap. Lost a little bit. I don't think he's going to get up into P1, but he is going to improve on his lap as he comes across the line. It's going to be a low 41, and there it is, 178 off the leader for a 141.110. And of course, cars lining up the order in the top 10 for the pro class. And there's the 64 jumping all the way up. Moffitt jumping up to 4th place. Almost 5 tenths off that silver lead at the moment, but we have most of the pro class now jumping those silver drivers down, which I'm always glad to see, because in the end, of course, what we want is we want the silver drivers to be below the pro drivers in pace, and the pro drivers can fight themselves, the silver drivers can fight themselves. The team aspect is not class specific, but of course the drivers individually, and let's be honest, drivers are going to care about themselves individually and where they finish on track. They're going to fight for their for their class positions, for their team, or for their single points as well. But it's always nice to see the team points get really solidified at SRA's team series here. John Archie and Matt Anastasi, of course, having that P1, P2 last race, and so far doing reasonably well in qualifying. And I'm curious to see if that 87 car of Anastasi can make himself back up a couple positions down in P12. That's not where you're going to want to start here at Imola. Here is the pro Ford Mustang GT3. Nick Son coming around the last set of corners here. He's about half tenth up on his lap. This is looking like a really good lap. It might put him on those podium positions. See if he's able to keep that steady through. It looks like he's slowly improving on the time. He's going to come across the line, and there he is, right up into P3. That's P2 in class for Nick Son. I don't know, Aaron. This Mustang is looking pretty quick to me. The MH team close enough 105. Ford Mustang doing its work. 2.5 minutes left in qualifying. That's approximately 2 laps left for the remainder of the grid here. Everybody's still out on track besides for Kevin Kovac, who has abandoned the remainder of his laps. Jared Troxclair, P1 in class, is up on his lap as well, looking like he might take over that P1 spot from the silver driver of Ivan McCroat. Nick Son is just set a slightly faster lap, but unfortunately not quick enough to take in the improved time up to P2 yet. But Jared Troxclair has lost a little bit coming through Sector 2. Still up on his lap, and I think that might solidify him into that P1. But the track is ever changing here, and again, Imola, such a circuit that you really have to get right every single second of the lap. If you mistake anything, you will just lose time and lose time and lose time, and that is not what Jared is doing here. He just gained at almost a tenth off that final section of the chicane there, and it's looking pretty good for him as he makes the run down to Ravaza, hard on the brakes, taking as much of the curb as possible as he makes the first left-hander. Couple tenths in him. Nick Son about a tenth up behind him as well. Won't be enough to catch up to Jared should he cross the line. Son's going to cross the line first and might take P2 temporarily. He will, but here it comes back. Jared's going to cross the line and going to take it right back. Doesn't, however, get P1. He's in P2. Final lap for these guys. And before qualifying ends, we get back on the grid. And we're going to see what happens once these guys get on the grid, because that's going to be the exciting part here. I'm really curious to see if these Mustangs can hold the pace that they're holding in qualifying. This is back to Matt Anastasi. Of course, the P1 driver, or P2 driver. Last week, he did make it back up to 6th. He's up on his lap as well, a few tenths, as he's making his way down into Aqua Minerale. He's looking like he's still picking up time as well. So these Ferraris doing pretty well. You get a little sideways coming in through the first section of Aqua Minerale there. That's what you got to watch out for here at Imola. That's a 1/10 and a half that you just lost for a little bit of a slide. It's not good. You got to be careful here. It's gonna throw you every which way you look. And he's losing more time through that third chicane. Looks like he's still up on his lap. If he can get a good run out of Ravazza here, he might be able to make this a clean run up at least into the top 5. He's not that far back, only 3.5 tenths between him and P1. And you have to go down pretty far down the grid before you find a second of difference here in qualifying, all the way down to P22 with Hartman. Here comes Matt out onto the straight. He did lose a little bit more time as well, but it's going to pick him up some positions. Let's see what happens. He's going to come across the line. That's going to finish him, and he goes up to P5. He gets the P5 for the Ferrari. That's what you want to see. Nick Son ahead of him, though, went up into P1. That's what we want to see from these Ford Mustang drivers. These guys taking P1 and P2. P1 in class for both of the classes. What a fantastic qualifying session from these. Jeremy Reeder going to come across the line, one of the last cars that will do so. A couple more to come. It's an improvement, but not a big one. He's at least up into P10. Here comes Juan across the line with the TC8 Racing Team. Looks like he went ahead and abandoned. And P23, he is, let's see, I don't have a timing on him. Looks like he will not improve as well. So that's going to be that qualifying done and dusted. Up into 18th. Up into 18th instead of 23. Not too bad for him. And we're going to get out onto the grid. These Mustangs running the show. P1 and P2. Aaron, did you expect that coming into the qualifying session here? I've been told Aaron is having a little bit of Discord issues. However much I like to pretend that we are, in fact, out on the comms box at the end of the track. Unfortunately, we are not. We do have to sit at home and commentate these races, and technical issues aside for that never help. But he will hopefully be back shortly, and we'll get him out as Curtis setting up for a little bit of a grid walk here for us to take a look through the starting order, and we'll take a look at the standings right after that and see where everybody placed last week for round 1. And look at these Mustangs. Look at these Mustangs. P1, P2, these teammates. Gorgeous. I love it. This is, of course, Nick Son there on your right. Your pro class pole position. Ivan McCroat, his teammate in the 277 to his left. P1 and P2 for the Mustangs. Beautiful to see. America, baby. The McLaren there on the right. Troxclair, he was in P1 for quite a long time. Ended up losing it down into P3, but he'll start on that inside line. Archie to his left in the 85 Ferrari. And then Anastasi, that's that team that dominated Barcelona last week. He's going to start down at P5. That's Brian Anderson in the 720S and the 502 to his left side. Art, second place in silver in that BMW there. Down in P7, not too shabby for him. The next silver car, P14. So these guys doing well. Cody Platt in the Mustang there to his left as well. Or our left, not his left, I suppose. And then Daminani, more Mustangs, man. We have 4 Mustangs in the top 10. Love to see it. Jeremy Reeder in the 104 McLaren right next to him. And then our first Mercedes of this. I believe there are 2 of them on the grid. And that Mountain Dew livery is Molineux in the Mercedes. Moffitt, number 64 in the Ferrari there, P12. And the 878 Ferrari to his inside. And then we have our third place silver car driver, LeMay, in the 882 Porsche and down in P14. Kevin Kovac, another Ford Mustang GT3 driver in the 128 P15. Garcia in the 812 Ferrari, as the drivers are going to start taking off from the grid as our drone runs right above them. That will be, there's that Mustang, a Kovac, and then the 812 of that, excuse me, Norman Dow, the 860 McLaren, and then Mitchell, Doug Mitchell, down at P19. That's him. Pan over to him. Don't let him get out of here. Let me see that Barbie livery. Get that drone back over there. Oh, there he is. Look at it go. P19 for Douglas Mitchell. Not an amazing thing for him, but here's the thing. That's still P5 in silver class. That was still a pretty dang good lap for Douglas Mitchell in that qualifying session. Put him down at a P19. You know what? Anthony would say the same thing. The man sat a faster lap than P1 did in the Division 5 series. So you know what? Good for him. Fantastic job by him. Drivers out on their formation lap. Let's take a quick look at the standings from last week. Standings for I apologize, Chris. I can't see the standings. What are we looking at? 1 second stream. We're, again, those technical issues. He's having some problems with our local stream, so need to be able to see that. Here we go, team and driver standings. This will be John Archie right there at the top in that Ferrari 296, the GRR Kit Kat Cartel Racing team, and his teammate in P2. 111 and 101 points respectively for that P1, P2 down at Barcelona. Josh Daminani in P3 for the Champion Motorsports, not another statistic team. Joel Moffitt in P4. Well, here's the thing, right? So Matt and John, looking down my grid, John qualified in P4, Matt in P5, qualifying right next to each other again. They started P1, P2 last time, stayed together your entire race, did fantastic through there, and ended up side by side again. That's going to be one heck of a battle for these teammates. Of course, Nick Son is in P1, and we don't even see him on this on the standings here. So I'm not sure whether he didn't finish last week. Actually, he did. He's in P39. He got 0 points last week for that Madhouse Racing team, close enough. And here he is sitting on that pole position in that 105. Now, Ivan McCroat is in P8 overall, or in his class. For the silver class, and so he's up on that pole position as well from P8 in Barcelona last week. Should be a fantastic start for him, and we'll see if he's able to keep that up. P19 overall for Ivan, and P8 in class. Drivers coming into Ravaza here for the end of the formation lap. We are going to go green here in just a moment. We'll go back over to live pictures. And quick look at the team standings. Of course, the Kit Kat Cartel for John Archie, Matt Anastasi in P1. Champion Motorsports, Josh Daminali, Filippo Amesto Vicini in P3. And as we look down the order, as we will continue to look, I'm just going to call out Badmans in Douglas Mitchell and Evan Kim in P5 for silver. And we are back, of course, to the live pictures as everybody lines up 2 by 2 down the main straight here. It's a very long run down this straight. The 105 car going to be leading them down into that start finish line. Those Mustangs side by side, the teammates doing a fantastic job keeping themselves up right there at P1, P2. We saw this last week with the Ferraris. We're seeing it this week with the Mustang. Approaching the line, MH team close enough. And here we go.
Green light. Go, go, go.
There's the green light. The race has started. Round 2 of the GT3 Team Series here on SRA. The Mustangs going nose to tail down. They did not want to be side by side. They want to block out the other traffic. The second one running right there. Ivan on the far right side of the circuit, making sure he can stay on the inside line for turn 2. Gets the inside line for turn 3 as well. They're just going to run it away with it. Nixon has taken off into the start of this race. Ivan McCroat, of course, staying right behind him, keeping those McLarens behind him, making sure that he will not have to fight anything for class for at least another few turns. What a gap. This Son running away with it at the start. Little bit of a contact there, I think, between Ivan and Nick Son. That's Archie and Nick Son. The standings are wrong. Obviously, Anderson not in first place. He must have had some sort of a technical issue that has caused that. Ignore that for the moment. That's Nick Son in first, Ivan McCroat in second that we're looking at here. That John Archie behind him in the Ferrari, and Troxclair, who of course was holding P1 and Pro for the longest time during qualifying, not able to make it back up, but is up in fourth place as they come up Aqua Minerale for the first time into the final chicanes. No contact so far. Haven't seen a whole lot of yellow flags be thrown out onto the rest. Side by side into the final chicane come McCroat and Archie. McCroat will get the gap right out of the corner, slot himself back in front. running down to Ravazza. I don't think the McLaren or the Ferrari are going to be able to make any sort of challenge here on this Mustang coming through the first sector as well. Hard on the brakes, staying as block as possible, making sure that he can't get his nose under there from the Ferrari. Here it comes to the last corner now, or second to last corner, and McCrow a little bit loose, but look at him go. Look at that Mustang fly down the straight, even with the slipstream from the Ferrari. Can't touch him for the moment. They're coming single file, more or less down the front straight, and cannot touch these Mustangs. 2.2 seconds for Nick Son up at the front. Ivan McCrow just leaving or staying behind or in front of these guys, making sure that Son, his teammate, can get as much of a gap as possible. A reminder, the pro and silver drivers do race each other for team points. They are allowed to race. They do not have to move out of the way for anybody. Silver driver can pass a pro driver and vice versa. Archie looking left, looking right, looking left, looking right. Can't quite get it through T9, and looks like he's going to have to slot back behind once again as they come through Aqua Minerale. I think this is the part of the circuit here where it will be about possible for this Ferrari to make it work. If he can get that run in through Aqua Minerale out of the left-hander here, he might be able to get him into the last chicane. He looked at it last lap. He wasn't able to make it happen. Back in the rest of the pack, almost all nose to tail. Everybody just doing a fantastic job keeping this steady. There's that run down into the final chicane. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. There's the Mercedes. Taylor Molyneux looks like he may have lost it. Oh, a little bit of a contact there with the 20S. I didn't catch who that was. We'll have to take a look. I'll take a look at that. I believe it was the 947 of Kroshik, though. A little bit of a contact. I don't think that should be a lot of damage, but a ton of time loss here for our lone, or for one of our two Mercedes, dropping all the way to the back of the pack. It's not what you want to do at Imola, spin out. You will get shuffled all the way back. You can't make that up. You can't get all the way back up to the run because you can't rejoin. The track is too small, especially this early in the race. Too many cars. You can't get it rejoined. He's going to have to rejoin at the back of the pack. He does have 56.5 minutes to make it up. We'll see what he's able to do. Nose to tail here coming into turn one. Jared Troxler throwing on the blocks into Anastasia. He's going on the inside but isn't able to quite make it. And he's going to slot back in front of him. Troxler in this 2-2-2 and run out to the second chicane. I believe that Aaron has made it back to the comms box.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened to my microphone, honestly. But I'm gonna agree with you. Like, if with these good drivers that we have up here in D2, like once you take that spill, like it's gonna be hard to get back into that pack.
Yeah, it's so difficult. It happened to me yesterday. I ended up getting a small contact. I definitely racing incident, partially my fault, partially the other driver's fault, spun me out of the last corner, and I just fell back to the pack. It was so hard to pick that back up. Personally, I had a little bit of damage, decided to make a pit lane run. I don't know if it was the right call or not. Let's go ahead and talk about that really quick. Actually, in this, you'll see on the left side of your timing board, the little one next to everybody, the little yellow one. That means that a mandatory pit stop is required for all of these drivers during this 1 hour race. They have a 58-minute pit window. Basically, you can't pit on the first or last lap. You do have to take tires during this pit stop, but you cannot take fuel, almost F1 style, where you can't actually refuel the car, and it's physically turned off. You can't put fuel even if you run out. So they have to fuel up the car, and they have to take tires. Most of the time, what we're going to see is likely people pit around that 30-minute mark. However, here in traffic, and especially at Imola, where it's hard to pass, we might see some potential for people to undercut or overcut. No one has taken that yet. But it's something to consider. It's definitely something that these drivers are thinking about, right? Do I have a slower car in front of me? Am I getting super attacked from behind and I just know I'm losing time? Maybe I dive into the pit lane. Or do you save your tires or burn your tires off rather, because you know you're going to be able to replace them, get a new set of Pirellis on that thing, and get back out and just run as fast as you can for the final 30 minutes. Pit strategy, definitely something to look at.
I gotta say though, like trying to get that pit timing correctly is one of the major things in races like this. Like if you get that pit wrong, you're gonna be losing all sorts of places.
And that's the thing. This pit lane is extremely long here at Imola. Not quite as long as like Indianapolis, for example. I understand that pit lane is ridiculously long. Haven't done a race on Indianapolis myself yet, even though I live here now, actually. So that's a bit of an oddity for me. But yeah, you will just lose a ton of time. I actually have my deltas here. Imola For a drive-through, if you have to drive through, you lose 36 seconds, and for a full stop with a tire change, it takes 71 seconds from in to out lane. That is the third slowest on the calendar. Only Indianapolis and Spa slower. And Spa, Aaron, if you didn't know this, the only track on the circuit that will be a 92-second stop, more than a minute and a half through that pit lane.
It's gonna be a joy driving Spa this season for endurance.
Are you racing in the 12-hour endurance race at Spa this Saturday for SRA? That is sign-up still open, of course. You come in and jump in a race with us at a 12-hour. Or are you joining us, Aaron?
Yes, I'm actually driving the McLaren. I come to find that like that car seems to be quite planted in Spa. So I'm gonna be driving that and seeing how far I can get. The 12 hours solo is not gonna be easy, but we will see what happens.
That is a heck of a thing there, but we're going to look at this overtake here. The McLaren looking like he lost a little bit of time to this Ford. The Kovac is making it. Oh, he gets the run, pokes it to the left, coming out of the corner, isn't able to make it happen though. But that look from Kovac, he is just wanting to get past Doug Mitchell here. Douglas needs to eat. Oh, he catches the grass, but still keeps it steady. A little bit of a slide from that 128.
Very good
Actually
block.
put him under pressure from Hartman as well. So Hartman now all over the back of that 182. But this is Mitchell falling under pressure. Or McDonald, I apologize, falling under pressure here. That's Mitchell just in front of him. McDonald falling under pressure in that 182. And this is where we're going to see those mistakes, and the mistakes can be big.
And especially if there's with that Mustang, like that straight line speed, like any sort of like mess up is just going to like give that Mustang that advantage.
Yeah, and that's what you don't want to give these Mustangs here at any circuit, realistically. You know, if you come out of Ravazza and get a little bit of a slide and that Mustang doesn't, he is going to have you done and dusted before the corner. Out of curiosity, if Curtis can, I'm curious to take a look down the straight from the window of this Ford Mustang GT3 as he chases down McDonald. If we can get out to a maybe an onboard cam, I think that's going to be one heck of an interesting shot. Here it comes down through the left hand, a second left hand of Ravazza. He's using all of that curve, jumps a little bit, doesn't slide, but neither does that McLaren out in front of him, and he's going to try and chase him down into the slipstream, down that first right. There's that final corner, the little bit of a kink as they come down into the start-finish line. I don't think he's going to have the run this time. That was a heck of a exit out of Ravazza by the 182. He's going to look to the outside, but I just don't think he's going to have it there in time. Maybe try for the cutback, but isn't able to quite make it happen this lap again. 10 minutes into this race, and these guys are still fighting tooth and nail. This must, there it is. The 182 actually slides a little bit. They're going to come down into turn 5, hard on the brakes. He's going to get the nose under him. He stays.
Are they going to get it?
No, he doesn't. The 182 manages to slip back right in front of him, and that's going to be the 128. Again, frustrating at this point. I would imagine he's probably losing time, but again, Imola
a little slippy on there.
A little bit of a slip as the 48's actually going to come past him now. He might lose the position entirely. Coming down into turn 9, he's going to try and brake as late as he possibly can, and he does. Little bit of a bump there, I think, to the 48. Almost knocks him off the track, but they're going to come down into Aqua Minerale, and this is where the 48's going to get him. Very likely down the inside. Maybe not. That is one heck of a drive.
Taking it a bit wide, and
heck of a drive.
Got it. Kovac trying to keep that position.
Watching back from Hartman now, and this is there it is right there. You see how bouncy you can really get over that final chicane there. It's really difficult to keep a hold of your car while you're jumping over that, and these mid-engine cars in particular have always struggled with that a little bit more, and that lost him just a little bit of time there. He's not going to be able to put the pressure on into turn 1. Of course, that side-by-side action did, however, let that 182 of McDonald kind of sprint away a little bit, but look at this. Look at that Mustang. Where's he at? You can't see him anymore. He's gone. The power of America, baby.
I mean, heck, man, that V8 just, it goes.
Looking up and down the grid, plenty of battles happening all throughout. We do have a little, big slide from the McLaren there, and that's going to be.
Oh, he's going to get a run on him.
He's off, but the 48's going to get the run down into turn 5 on the inside, makes the left-hander, and he's already got it done. Anderson went ahead and just let him slot back in front of him. I think he said, you know what? I don't want to race side by side through these chicanes. You're a little bit faster than me. Why don't you go ahead? I'll see if I can get the toe and keep up with you, Hartman. But that is going to be a pass done for Hartman in that 48 up to P16.
A very smooth pass indeed.
And of course, looking at
going a little wide there.
Yeah, it's Brian Anderson still looking for it. Hartman's not slidey enough for this 502 to catch up with him. But he's going to stay nose to tail there and probably try to make a run down the straight. I just want to point one quick thing out that we did not catch on camera, which is that P1 and P2 have swapped positions. Ivan McCroat up into P1 in his 277. As the Ferrari goes wide, there is Anderson getting on the inside, down to the run to the Ravazza. He's going to have almost cleared before they get into the little bit of a kink. The Ferrari trying to cut back, but I think the McLaren has it done. He's going to cut down onto the inside, still keeping it covered down, and he's going to be able to get on the brakes just enough to slot back in front of the Ferrari and get the pass back done. Anderson started this lap on P ahead of Hartman. He's going to end the lap in front of Hartman as well. That's Norman Drow coming up the inside of the Ferrari behind him. And we're going to see if he can get the pass. Oh, sorry, that's Caro behind him. The Ferrari of the 296 coming through the other Ferrari of 48 of Hartman. This is Silver and Pro class. That's Normandu in the 860 pink McLaren behind him. Ferrari side by side into turn one. Catches the curb, keeps it steady, does the 595, but just doesn't have the run into the second part of the corner to get the fully pass done. And now he's under pressure from the McLaren. The 860 on his outside, and the 860 doing a fantastic job through the left-hander on the outside to keep it steady, and he gets the pass done. Caro now up a position in front of the McLaren. Boonstra as well.
Taking that inside.
Pressuring 860 through Tossa, and he'll get the run done as well. This is Normandu just falling positions. That is 2.5 positions that he lost within a couple laps. He needs to take a second, breathe, reset himself, and get back onto that pace, as Caro now in the Ferrari is coming up into P20 or down into P20. That's going to be disappointing for him, but he's still got plenty of silver cars behind him. He's still got plenty to work for. He needs to be careful not to continue to lose positions.
That was a fantastic turn-in for Normando. He was smoothly into that inside.
And of course, that's Selena Boonstra in that Porsche as well. Selena, a rather well-known member of the community, as I understand here at SRA. I've worked with her a little bit, I believe, in another community's races for a couple seasons. A couple years ago, she was part of that, and it's really good to see her doing just as well as she should have done back then here at SRA in Division 2. Notably, just want to point out the 128 of Kevin Kovac did dive down into the pit lane. That is our first pit stop, and it's a Mustang. He was doing really well. I'm a little surprised that he dove down into the pit lane this early, but maybe he's thinking that strategy, like we talked about earlier, that strategy can really come into effect here. Maybe he had a little bit of damage. Maybe he slid his tires and blistered them. Maybe, who knows, right? Maybe he just wants to run the undercut. 45 minutes to go. He's going to have to work those tires for quite a long time. Selena just manhandling this car through there. The Porsche is so hard to drive on a good day. Stick that thing on Imola and get you plenty of sausage curbs, and this becomes a workout.
Yeah, I'm not even sure why that's a thing for the Porsche GT3. Like, the GT2 version is a lot easier to drive, and that's very surprising.
You say that, and yet recently I participated in a GT2 series here in ACC. To drive those GT2 cars. I really enjoyed myself. We had a driver taking the secondary Porsche that doesn't have traction control, and that man was just an absolute unit. It was so fast until he spun and hit the wall. But, you know, like, he was so fast until then. Such a fun car to watch drive, though. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Ran nose to tail with him down the mountain at Bathurst for a few laps. Blast watching him just drift through the corners. Of course, Selena doing a little drifting herself, perhaps a little bit more controlled than that, though.
If my memory serves me, Craig, I think you think of the 935. The weird-looking Porsche.
I believe that is true. The 935, yes. Jeremy
yeah,
Reeder
weird.
Also heading to the pit lane, by the way. Oh, and White Scarver, Curtis points out to me, awesome. White Scarver also in the pit lane. This is a few cars in the top 20 that are driving down into the pit lane early. to get out of traffic? Well, we don't know yet. We don't really know what these strategies are because they can kind of make them up on the fly. You can decide, I'm not going to pit till 20 minutes and then come around on turn 7 and go, you know what, I think I'm going to pit this lap. You don't have a crew chief going box, box, box in your ear, so you just kind of do what you want. That's the perk of the sim, right?
It's the interesting strategy because, like, for me, driving the Lexus, I didn't go in until 45 minutes, and like it seemed to work out for me, making sixth place. But I have no idea what any of these very good drivers are thinking. Like, this is all new to me.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? As we are watching Nixon, this he had a little bit of a slide. Archie coming right up to his bumper, under pressure here for P1 in class. P2 overall is the Ford Mustang GT3 driver. And keep a look at this rear wing shot as they come out of Ravazza and onto the straight, and see just how much this Ferrari 296 might have in him to make that up there. But yeah,
another McLaren pitting.
Driving in, that's Jared Chalksclair in his 222 coming down into the pit lane, and he's going to come out of P4 in that early pit stop as well. Nixon, done and dusted, doesn't care that Ferrari's behind him, probably took off the mirror down the straight. You don't need it. Of course, who's going to pass you? But here's the problem. You got to try and reattach it as you get back into the twisty bits, as that 296 is looking really good that last couple laps, and maybe he's got his tires dialed in and he's ready to go.
Of course. Trying to keep those tires all, like, endurance is really hard in a lot of these races, because if you push a little too hard, those tires go, and there ain't nothing you can do, and you're going to have to go into those pits to get some new ones.
Can confirm, last week at Barcelona, I felt as if I had tires for about 15 minutes, and then I had ice skates both times. It was not doing well for me. Driving the McLaren 720S, I don't know what it is. It did not work for me at Barcelona last week. I did pretty well. Still finished P7, not too bad in the pro class of Division 5. But we're going to see. Didn't finish too well in Imola. Congratulations on the finish yesterday, Aaron, in P8. That's pretty dang good. Are you racing the Pro Class or Super Class at P5?
P6?
Oh, P6. I apologize. I thought you said P8. Are you in Pro or Silver?
I'm Division 5 Gold.
Division 5 Gold. Pro Class, yeah. So you're in the same class as me, actually. Where'd you finish at Barcelona?
Barcelona, I had a really bad run. I turned out to, like, qualify in full fuel, which was not ideal, and then I just kept losing all traction and just having problems, and I had a little altercation with another driver and just completely ruined their race, and I felt really bad and took the penalty for that one.
Yes.
So Barcelona was not a fun track for me.
As I understand, that is what I would call just Lexus things. I'll be driving the Lexus in the 12-hour this Saturday. Andrew Riffey is not happy with it, but me and Martin decided, why not? So me, Martin, and Andrew are going to be in there. We're watching Norman Dow come back on Hartman here, coming into T1. He's on the outside, but doesn't quite get the brakes done this time. Great defense from the Pillars Racing, the Noob 860, the Hartman. This is great attacking from the Pillars Racing, the Noob 860 Ferrari and 860 McLaren. I can read. I promise you, chat. Here's the thing. He's going for the inside here. We'll get back to my thought in just a second. Down into Tossa. He might get that done, but we're going to see if he's able to get the run. He's not. Just a little too little grip there on the inside of Tossa. Such a difficult corner to not to have the inside on, I think, because if you can't get that pass done early, it's so hard to get out of that corner on the inside. But my point, I have not done a lot of ACC since that Ferrari 296 came out, and I think that 720S and the 296 look too much alike. I confuse them constantly when I'm looking at the front of them, and I shouldn't, but I hate it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Most of these mid-rear engine cars look the same to me, so I'm constantly trying to figure out which ones are which.
We in chat here, DC Storm Games, talking about Arct. Let's jump up to P5 there for just a second, Curtis. Arct is up in P5. That's P2 in silver class, by the way, for his BMW. He's just a couple tenths off the back of Anastasi there in his 87 Ferrari. Of course, the team that won Barcelona last week, currently in P3, P4. Art's doing a really good job so far. That BMW is just looking steady. He hasn't really lost a whole lot of time anywhere. P5 overall is such a great position to be in. As we almost approach that halfway mark, there's almost 22 minutes done in this race already. It feels like it's been about 5 with how much action we've got going on, or 2 hours, depending on which way you want to look at it. So much action, so much nose-to-tail racing, so much attempts at overtakes, and actual overtakes happening. Did lose a little bit of time there to the Ferrari ahead of him, but he's got about 10 seconds back to his next in class in that 882 from LeMay, and that's a really big gap and exactly where you want to be 20 minutes into a race. You look behind you and go, yeah, I can't even see them in the mirror. Perfect for the unsuspecting duo 370.
Yeah, it seems like Art is like right out of slipstream range. So if he can get that slipstream, he might be up on Anastasi.
Very well could. They're going to dive down into Ravazzi here, of course, make those left-handers get back onto the straight. I don't know. That BMW, not necessarily always the quickest down the straight, and I've heard that that Ferrari 296 does really well. He's going to have to really get up in that slipstream. He did gain a little bit of time there. There is lap traffic ahead of these guys from the pits, so that means that we're going to have to deal with a little bit of lap traffic here. As they come down the straight. Switching over to Nick San, who is, of course, the pro class leader, overall P2. Those Ferraris, though, still breathing down his neck. San might be quick, but what do you not want to see in your mirror as a racing car driver? 2 teammates behind you, nose to tail, and that's what he gets.
Yeah, that would be the worst situation to be in, because either way, if you mess up, you're losing a place to one of those teammates.
It's not both at that point, right? So you have to be very careful, because you know these guys, based off their performance last week in Barcelona, will not let up at all. They will just try to dominate these guys just as much as they can. Nick is really just trying to keep these guys as back as far as he can, so that his teammate, of course, ahead of him can keep that P1. Going over to Juan Caro here, who looks like he may have had a little bit of instant. This is a bit of an odd place for instant too. Wonder what happened. He's just coming down front straight here. Might be a little bit too early of a replay, because I think that was in turn 1, but he's coming down, big slipstream on the porch, tries to go to the inside, hard on the brakes, but maybe just a little too late, and I think he just may have caught the curb and spun himself out down into P23. I don't think that there is any damage on that car. Little hard to see from this angle. Yeah, even with the front there, maybe no damage. Definitely a bit of an ego hit there, making sure that you got to be careful for the Triasse Competizione 595. But yeah, just a little bit of instant. Again, you got to be so careful. There are just sausages everywhere on this that they'll throw you.
Especially taking that long straight. If you don't get on those brakes early enough, or you hit those brakes too hard, you're going straight out into that sand. It is the runoff of shame.
Don't know what you're talking about. Never been in that sand pit ever. Never heard of it. Definitely wasn't there yesterday. Anyway, we're gonna move on.
It's gonna be right at Variante Tamburello, like right off the side there. I
Yep.
can't tell if it's sand or dirt, what it is, but that is the worst place to be.
I do believe it is, in fact, sand here at Imola. Sand traps are generally the standard in the, I think it's F, or I can't remember the name of the grade that the F1 circuits have to use. They have to be a certain grade to be the F1 circuits, and I do believe that almost all the traps have to be sand in that grading. If I'm not mistaken, somebody in the chat, I'm sure, will correct me if I'm wrong, because that's what we have the Twitch chat for. Back over to Selena, by the way, still holding on to P12 here, doing a great job keeping the other Porsche behind her. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th place in class. These pro drivers most of them have pit out of the top 10 and 15 so far. So we're seeing the silver drivers slowly creep up. Of course, P1, 2, 3, and no longer 4, by the way, because Anastasi's teammate did make the early pit stop. Changing pit strategies here. Curtis told me last week that the 2 Ferraris did in fact pit, I believe, on the same lap, switched positions in the pit lane off of their pit deltas, but did pit on the same lap. So they are splitting strategies. Anastasi now in the pit lane. The Mustangs, not yet. They are going to keep going. They've got the clear air. I think this is a great play by the Ferraris as we're seeing Selena get dove on here. She is down on the inside or outside, coming into Ravazza, catches a little bit of the grass, and that's going to put her down one position. That grass will just slow you down just enough. That grass generally won't throw the car around, but it will slow you just enough. And that's the 88 up ahead of her now. Adams coming up into P12 as we see Kroshik behind them in the 947 dive into the pit lane. 33 minutes left in the race, and this is where we're going to see regularly scheduled pit stops start happening.
Our team took that chance, honestly. All right, was it our team?
It was Adams, the 88.
Oh, Adams, yeah. He took the opportunity when he saw it.
Curtis, this man shares your namesake as well, so I assume you're just going to cheer him on just for that fact. He's laughing. I can hear him laughing at the board over in front of us here about it. Matthew Schwartz for the Hoonigans Code Red. I believe the only Lambo that I have seen. I don't think we have a Lambo in Division 5 either. I didn't see him earlier. That is fantastic to see a man in a Lambo. Hoonigans Code Red, number 11. Currently P18, though, of course, after the pit stop cycle, that will change up a little bit. I did just catch Anastasi coming out of the pit lane, so he is making his way through turn 1 now. And we're going to keep an eye on him and see what I'm going to keep an eye on him, see what his lap times are looking like under the cold tires and out from behind the Mustangs. See if he's picking up time before these Mustangs decide to come into the pits. And actually, there go the Mustangs into the pits now. Both of them nose to tail. Ivan McCroat and Nick Zahn nose to tail into the pit lane. The 277-105, the leaders pitting here with 33 minutes left to go. Art following them in as well. So this is most of the leaders pitting. Cody Plott temporarily promoted up into P1 in his Ford Mustang as LeMay also follows them back in. Curtis, I desperately need at least like a 20-second onboard shot of this Lambo where we just all shut up and listen to it, because everybody needs a little bit of Lambo in their life. Let's watch a little of an onboard here from Matthew Schwartz, Hoonigan Code Red, number 11, Lambo GT3.
I do have to say this Lamborghini is quite an interesting beast.
Did you just hear the rumble from here? Like I was out at the Indianapolis track a couple of years ago to run an event for SRO, and you could feel the Lambos come down the pit lane. Not you would hear them, of course, but you felt them come down the pit lane. They are monsters. It is such a blast to watch those guys. As someone who's not like the massivest Lambo fan ever, I just love the sound of these GT3 cars. I think that they're just fantastic to watch race around the track, and seeing him just beside the Mercedes as well, you can just see how small they are in comparison to those Mercedes. Huge, you know. Oh, we just got our first penalty. I believe LeMay, a big speed in the pit lane. That is the 882 with a stop, go 30 for the first penalty. We haven't seen any track limits penalties yet. No live stewarding here at SRA, so any penalties assigned will be issued via the game itself. Most of those will be for either for track limits or speeding in the pit lane. LeMay is going to be kicking himself right now. He was having such a good race, and it is so hard and so difficult to get down to the pit limiter at this track and make sure that you are on that 31 miles per hour before you cross that line. Kurt, not this time. He's gonna take that all the way down. A little Freudian slip there, Curtis. I apologize. But the 882 Rusty's 992 Porsche did not kitchow, or rather, maybe kitchowed a little too hard down the pit lane. And it's gonna be
it is so easy to do that at this track. Like when I was driving the Lexus, I had to almost come to a complete stop just so I wouldn't get that penalty. My teammate wasn't exactly too lucky on that one. So it's quite easy to get those 30-second penalties. Such a tragedy too, because you waste so much time with those.
Yeah, again, we talked about this pre-broadcast, of course, but for those of you who did not catch it, Imola, of course, the third longest pit lane on the SRO calendar. Only Indianapolis and Spa longer than them. This is going to be a roughly 71-second stop for Curtis. Notably, I'm going to take a look at his pit delta here. Kurt, not Kurt. It's just going to be Curtis now. Everybody's Curtis. We're all Curtis. Anyway, Curtis Adams did have a 142.7 pit stop last time. No, 117.8.
I mean, which Curtis am I then?
You'll be Curtis M. I'll be Curtis J.
Heck yeah.
Pit lane overall, I'm still watching Anastasi, by the way. Last lap, a 42.3. Looking at the Mustangs, they are just out on their out lap, of course. Anastasi did get ahead of Nick Son for P2 at least. Ivan McCroat still holding in to P overall P1. And I believe Anastasi's teammate also jumped Nick Son. Nick Son with a very bad pit stop. Looks like he had about 3.5 seconds slower than John Archie, as we're getting a bit of a run down here. Brian Anderson in that 16 side by side with the Mustang at Kovac as they come in through Aqua Minerale, or through the final chicane. I apologize. And that Mustang said, maybe not, I don't want to do that. Went ahead and got on the brakes just a touch early so he wouldn't lose any positions from the back. And that's going to be Machak in the 13 now, trying to defend from the, I believe that might be a leader in front of him. This is the bad thing about ACC. I love ACC. It's so fun. It's so hard to see what cars are on track with the timing board doesn't like to show it. And that's the
I know,
Valvoline
that's
Mustang
the
behind
problem that I'm having right now. Like, I was watching Anderson and I was like looking for that board and I was like, ooh, those track limits. If you get too many of those, it'll get you.
Oh, little bit of a bump there. That's the 13, just a touch of a bump. That's the 128 car, by the way. That is Kovac right ahead of him. And then Whitescarver, I believe that is, he's a little bit back as well. And we do have our first drive-through of the race, we believe, for track limits. That's going to be the 878 of, I'm going to butcher this name, I apologize, Ayers Tabali. In the 878, currently down in P32, and he's going to drop a little farther. LeMay, by the way, came out of the pit lane and got himself a drive-through penalty. LeMay, yikes, buddy. Just maybe for next week, before we jump over to, I believe we're at Suzuka next week in Japan. Maybe practice next pit lane entry just a couple times. After that, that's what I would be doing if I had my employees. I wouldn't be doing that again.
Yeah, that Suzuka pit, that really will get you. It's such a fast turn into that pit. Like, if you aren't careful, that you're gonna get that 30-second penalty, and it's not gonna be fun.
Curtis, I don't know what happened, but somehow Douglas Mitchell has made his way to overall P9. Look at this. The Badmans, number 10 McLaren 720S, Douglas Mitchell, overall P11 on track. Of course, there are two cars that have not made their pit stop. That puts Douglas Mitchell in the top 10. This man is flying. However, and perhaps most notably, I missed this during the pit stop cycle. Who's in first place but Troxclair in that 22720S, 3.5 seconds ahead of the Mustang of McCroat, and has that purple lap. There is that qualifying pace that Jared tried to show early. He has ran a 41.182 is his fastest lap. Looking down the order here, the next closest one, I think, is at least a couple tenths back from that, if not more. Yeah, I think I'm seeing a 41.7 on my timing screen here. That is, if you can't do the math at home, ladies and gentlemen, because I talk so freaking fast, 6 tenths higher than Troxclair has run. This 222 has some blinding pace here at Imola. 25 minutes to go. I don't know if this man's going to burn off his tires or what, but you know what? It's working for him right now. As a reminder, he was the man who made the undercut. He pit on lap 9 and had a not ridiculously quick pit stop, but there's the undercut at play. Picked up quite a bit, even though he didn't have an amazing pit stop, picked up quite a bit with that undercut, getting out of traffic. He knew he was faster. He went ahead and just made the pit and came out on top so far. This is a fantastic drive from Troxclair, as only one car now has not made their pit stop, as Smith dives into the pit lane. We've only had the Lambo, who is enjoying leading the field, as we see another drive-through come down for the 777. That's the 777 of Damiani in his Ford Mustang GT3. Fortunately and unfortunately, he is already a couple laps down. He was the one with the incident earlier, but still not what you want to see. Very frustrating and disheartening as a driver to be like, well, I guess I got to drive through the pit lane again. He'll be thinking about that and kicking himself for it. But again, Imola, such a fun track to drive anyway. I could just drive here for an hour with no other cars on.
It's one of my favorite tracks. I know that one. And I do have to agree with your earlier statement. That 141, that is a fantastic pace to be driving at Imola. Sure, like people would see the 140 that we had at the pole position, but if you're actually going through like race pace, that 141 is fantastic.
I know that I can't touch a 141 with a 10-foot pole on my lap times, so I am just as impressed as anybody else. In fact, looking up, I don't think I can touch any of those laps that these guys have ran here. I ran myself a 43.9 in qualifying and thought I did pretty dang good. Probably could have picked up a couple more tenths, but that's why we're in Division 5 and not Division 2, Aaron.
All right. That BOP also gets me too, because I mean, when you're playing in single player, you can pretty much do whatever you want. And then, like for me, I can get like a 143.3, but like once you get that BOP in, like it is a complete different ball game. And I think I've gotten about the same, maybe like a 143.9, 143.7, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think that's probably, I feel like if I had like exactly purples and just like it just nailed the lap, I might be able to get into like the low 43s. But other than that, that's like the ideal situation, right? With the BOP attached, of course, because SRA does run a custom BOP here based on a lot of different factors. I believe they factor in like the LFM BOP and their own BOP within their hot laps and the practice servers, etc. For reference here, the McLaren 720S, which is of course the Jared Troxclair purple lap, does have 15 kilograms added to it. Out on the track here at Imola, so that is not a small amount of weight. In fact, it is the heaviest weight added to any car on the track at the moment. Your Lexus, by the way, minus 25 kilograms here.
I know.
Here at SRA, but that's just the Lexus for you. I mean, it's
well, yeah. I
car,
mean, I gotta say, like when there's no BOP, that thing is almost like a boat. Like it has so much weight going through those corners. Like if you're not careful, you can just fly off. Like, it's crazy driving that Lexus.
And you fly off in a very different way than most of the mid-engine cars. It flies off because it understeers so much, not because you get it loose, most of the time at least. I would say, like, the setup that we're running at Spa, I can take a Rouge Radeon flat and everything and not have a dang bit of worry. I even hit the curb at Blanchimont and went, I guess there was a curb there. But then you get up to, the end of the Keppel Straight and go, yes, there is a turn somewhere. I don't know. I missed it because I understeered into the grass.
See, I agree. I have an interesting problem myself with the Lexus, like where I can just like fly through those corners, especially here at Imola. But like once I take those like really slow corners, it wants to oversteer horribly. It's like it doesn't know what it wants to do.
That is that front engine cars for you. Lexus a little bit on that older tech for GT3 cars, of course. They never made an Evo version. Of course, I don't believe they run in most or all of the main SRO series now. There might be one that runs in SRO America, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. I haven't looked the last couple of years to see. We're just watching Al Latufo here, nose to tail, with the 595 of Caro, who, of course, we looked at earlier. I believe he was the one that had the minor incident that lost himself a few spaces and has tried to make up as much as he can. Back up to P27 at least after the pit stops, and he's looking pretty racy up to P26 here. I think he's going to get this done and dusted. Just needs to be patient with it as he gets in to the last 20 minutes here at Imola. And as we get into the last 20 minutes here at Imola, of course, here at SRA, all of this is very possible. Ooh, Latufo, there's the mistake that happens as they get into Tossa. He is run off into the grass and that's going to be the pass done by the 595. Caro is going to make up that position. I looked away for a second. I don't think that there was contact there. Curtis is going to let me know in just a second, but that is one heck of a mistake there from the Ford. No contact is had, and that's going to be him down to 27. Caro now, I'm really curious to see if he can just walk away from this Ford. Maybe he was being held up there. He might be able to make up a couple more positions. The Ford is struggling. You can see him go through Aqua Minerale there and just go right off the track at the top of the hill, and he is looking like he's struggling with his tires here. I'm looking back at his pit stop. He also was one of the drivers who made an early pit stop on lap 9, so that means that he probably is wearing on his tires a little bit. By the way, last pit stop being had right now, Matthew Schwartz in his Lamborghini out of P1 and currently in P15 and following as he's making his way through the pit lane, just leaving his pit box. He is going to actually have a pretty good position here in his number 11 Lamborghini, I believe, because that is just a really good run for him. He had so much clean air for a few laps there. He was able to pick up a few seconds here and there. Going to slot himself back out into a really good position. Here comes Selena up behind him. There's the Selena go straight through. Couple more cars, and he's going to slot himself right here in P31 with plenty of cars in front of him to attack, and that's the perk of being here at Imola, is the Mercedes going to dive down his inside while he's on the cold tires. Not quite get that one done, but Schwartz, great run by him. That was just such a good overcut there. He felt like he was good on the tires. He was putting good lap times in. He said, you know what, I'm going to wait a few more minutes, go ahead and get that get those extra time in. Comes out in P31. As long as he can hold on to the cold tires, he should be great. As I was saying, SRA, of course, not possible without some of our sponsors and title sponsors that are just helping us run these races. 6 divisions across this GT3 Team Series. You can come sign up for it as well. You can join mid-season, come in, do your qualifying, do your orientation. You have, just a heck of a lot of races left. This is only race 2 of 8. You've got plenty of time to get in here. Join us out on track. 6 divisions to sort yourself in, and 2 classes in the divisions. Come in, join us for racing, and you know who that's brought by, and how you need to be, and how you can be better at that even, is you go to such websites as the Track Racer. You can experience redefined gaming with Track Racer's high-quality sim rigs and accessories by using the code SRATE at checkout to support the servers and the racing here at SRA. Get yourself a little rig, maybe some new pedals or something to go on the rig, and then, you know, you get a little faster, maybe jump up a division. Looking good for you. The AT3D Sim Shop as well. Once you get your rig, well, you got to be able to upgrade that with some 3D printed accessories. They feature precision crafted magnetic shifters, sleek cable management solutions, versatile stream deck mounts, and immersive dashboard displays. Their innovative designs enhance performance and style. Elevate every lap with top-tier quality craftsmanship at at3d.net. And once you get the sim rig set up, what do you need to do? Well, you need to get out and drive. And how do you drive faster? You have a great setup, right? Go Setups helps sponsor us here at SRA as well. You can use our affiliate link on our Discord and take your drive to the next level. Premium esports setups for everybody, made by esports drivers for all of us here, whether we're in Division 2, 3, 4, 5 like Aaron and I, 6, or even Division 1. Maybe you just don't know about setups. I open the setup screen and go, yes, a roll bar, that exists. What does that do? I don't know. That's why I buy the setups. They do it for me.
Especially if those setups are not, or especially if it's like ACC, where the like real world stuff doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. That's a lot of it. Some of it happens. You know what? Let the experts take care of it for you. That's what Go Setups is here for. They have exploded on the scene. Go Setups has done a fantastic job, really placing themselves in the position to be the high-end setup shop, and really just kind of get everywhere. No matter what community I'm in, I keep hearing Go Setups, and I went and I've gotten a couple, over the last like few months or so that I've been racing again, and it's definitely improved. It really over that default setup really helps. More of our sponsors here at SRA is, of course, Armamentario, a toolbox for ACC that will enhance your chance to win. It's a fully customizable and enhanced HUD to change the way you experience ACC, because as we know, I won't talk bad about Kunos at all, not at all, but fantastic.
I will.
but could do a little work. And, you know, our Armamentario has got you covered on that. And of course, Castle and Cauldron, a home-based crafting business specializing in fairy role collectibles, wands, potions, mini dioramas, wall decor, costumery, cosplay. I'm a D&D player myself. That's most of what I do outside of gaming. Not that it isn't gaming. Play a couple times a week, and I have played more. I haven't looked too close at Castle and Cauldron. I'm a little new to SRA myself, but it's definitely something I want to check out pretty soon here, as I really want to make sure that I can pick up premium collectibles for my gaming room as I've been setting that up. Excuse me. As we get up, of course, those are our fantastic affiliates that help us here. You can grab all of these, these websites, put in your affiliate code as you check out. Castle and Cauldron, by the way, facebook.com/Castle Cauldron. You can find that there and go take a look. Anytime you purchase from any of these guys, they do help us with our server costs. But the big sponsors, the one that really, you know, pay the bills and make this happen outside of the affiliates, are stuff like Documize, the modern business solution for product management. You go to documize.com to learn more today. Retro Saga, which I was very excited about when I joined SRA because I'm a huge gaming fan, been a gaming fan my whole life. Retro Saga is a North American-based gaming company that provides accessories to you for favorite classic systems. You know, I was born in the 90s, Nintendo's, Sega, old PlayStations. You want accessories for that? That's where you're going to find them. Retrosaga.ca. We don't judge them for being Canadian. We love Canadians just as much here. I might love the Ford Mustang a little bit more, but the Canadians do make some fantastic gaming products out there, and that's really where you want to go for retro stuff, is retrosaga.ca. Back on the track here, P32, we're watching the 878. Right ahead of the 163. I did see the 11 go off the track. That's Schwartz right ahead of these guys. Last lap through turn 1. Take a little bit of a gander through the first chicanes sand section, and I do believe that we saw another drive-through, and there it is. Yes, P12, car 13. Ooh, as we're seeing Imola get onto the grass, and there is gonna be just, again, it is constant here at Imola. If the slightest mistake, the slightest tap, the slightest literally anything that can happen to unsettle that car, and you're gonna take a run through the grass, and that's the 163 up a position. Higgs will very much take that, and a 2-second gap as one in the 878 drops back.
I'm sure that he's frustrated right now. That was a interesting loss of traction, something, but he just went straight off.
He very much did. That was just a straight line run. We're seeing more DTs come through, by the way. As I mentioned, or started to mention just a moment ago, the 13 of Machiak, which was P2 in silver, or P3 in silver, by the way, did get a DT. He's in the pit lane now alongside Kovac in the 128 Mustang, and that is Kroshik in the 947, also with a DT. And that is just, that is Imola in a nutshell. We are 45 minutes, almost now 50 minutes, of course, into the race, and here come the DTs. This is where your slight mistakes are going to hurt you even more. Not the major ones where you go, oh, I found the sand, or oh, I found the grass, or maybe a little tap here. No, speaking of big mistakes, there's one. He gets it stopped just before he rejoins the track, though. Hartman in the 48, dropping out of P14. There's P17 for him. Great save by him, gets it straight back up, and you know what? Slots right back. I believe that's his teammate in front of him, isn't it? Yeah, that's the 710 of Queso. I believe that is, and I believe that's his teammate. What a fantastic save by him. That could have been much worse. Great job getting that stop before he got in the middle of the track. There was cars coming at speed directly behind him. No contacts had, and rejoins down in P17 right behind the 710 Ferrari. But again, mistakes. That is the key of Imola, and the drive-throughs with the track limits, it will really push you if you're really trying to make something happen. It's a long pit lane. You will just absolutely lose everything. You get a drive-through. It is better at times to just take it that half-second slower. But you know what?
Right.
These are drivers. These are racing drivers.
I mean, all I gotta say for that one is, like, the way that he just went straight back on where he needed to go. He could have easily just kept going with the amount of time that he had, but that's a D5 thing for you. So, like, these professional drivers up here aren't gonna try to do anything risky like that.
Yeah, these guys, I disagree. I think that risk is the name of the game. here in these divisions. I don't think that anybody, no matter how fast they are not going to take the risk. I think that these guys are going to take every single risk that they possibly can to get ahead of the car in front of them. Molyneux here is actually doesn't even take a risk. He just drives around the outside of Selena. Selena losing the spot along the outside into the first chicane. Molyneux just driving around her. Not a position, not a class position, but of course an overall position will affect your team points for that. The number 7, such a great run. The Mercedes has always been so fast down the straight, and that really shows that there. Really curious to see what Selena can do here through the middle sectors, seeing if she can get on that the tail of him, maybe get a run through Aqua Minerale into the last chicane, something like that. But it looks like she's just kind of holding steady at a couple tenths there. She was 3 tenths at the last timing sector as they are now approaching Aqua Minerale. Looks like she's still losing just a touch of time, and I think that's done and dusted for Molyneux there. That is just +1. I don't think he's going to get any danger from behind unless he makes a mistake, and there's a slight one right there. You lose a little bit.
I do, like, from the way that it looks to me, Selena looks like she's really trying to push it to get back up there with that Mercedes.
Running down into Ravaza here for these cars, and they are just going to stay nose to tail. Jumping back over to Twitch chat for a second, I see Castle and Cauldron actually in the Twitch chat. Hello. I am, as I said, I'm going to be visiting your Facebook page here pretty soon because you know, that's something I definitely want to look into. Also, really awesome to hear that they're actually sponsoring an individual car, according to Castle and Cauldron. Can we potentially switch over to Steve Buckley for a second? Let me help you find him on track here. Buckley. Or are they not in this division? They might not be. I don't see a Buckley in this division. So, yeah, it must be another division car. But that's really cool. Yeah, like you know, having those small companies like that. You know, the Etsy style companies. You know, this is really where you get your exposure, right? I mean, how do you get the name out? I didn't know about them until I joined SRA, and now I know about them. And I'm definitely going to be going over and look. And I like to spend money on D&D because that's what I do with my life. So I will very likely be out there to do that. And that's awesome really here. I have been told that he is a D4, so in Division 4, Stefan is. So
I will also make a comment about it. I was like very interested in the website myself because like earlier I was like working on some like pre-recorded stuff just in case I don't want to read out the whole long list. So I noticed the link and I was like, huh, that seems like right up my alley. I really like collecting stuff myself, like whenever I have the chance to. So I'll be for sure checking that out.
they also sponsor a 250cc supercart. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know anything about karting, but that sounds impressive. So I love it. I listen. I was born and raised on NASCAR. I got into GT racing. I'm a huge fan of WEC. I was never into F1 or anything like that, so I never really leaned into the karting scene at all. So just not my particular subject, which has always been the Europeans. I've worked with Europeans for years now with racing. Always been a sticking point. I want to talk about F1. I go, yes, I know that guy. You know, I don't.
Hey man, I'm right with you. The only like F1 drivers that I know are like Lando and like Max Verstappen, and that's about it.
There you go. Castle and Cauldron, of course, saying actually what they currently sell at the moment is mostly Harry Potter stuff. So little figurines for that and other collectibles. Definitely want to go check them out. Glad to have you in the chat here with us today. Draven Doyle, Marlboro Lights Menthol. That's I think that a lot of the tobacco sponsors have been outlawed in a lot of racing nowadays, but
Yeah,
not
don't
here
smoke,
on the
kids.
internet. Not here on the internet. Draven Doyle in the 281 Porsche now trying to chase down the 4 of Latufo there, who of course we just saw him have a bit of a moment a couple times as Caro got past him a few laps ago, and he is right on the tail. I wouldn't be surprised to see him slot past here pretty soon. The 4 is not looking as steady with that early pit stop. Only 5 minutes ago. He doesn't have that long to hold it. Luckily, he's got the speed down the straight. It's just a question of can he keep all the tires on the black stuff and in between the white lines for the next 5.5 minutes. He's looking towards the outside here, but I don't think you're going to pass the outside on this particular corner without getting one heck of a run. And the 4 does indeed stay there. Looking back on the wing on the run into Ravazi. He's looking quick. This Porsche is looking pretty quick. He touches the grass there, though. He's going for it. He wants it. He wants the inside of that corner. The 4 not letting him have it as he crosses down into Ravazzi.
Oh, a little bit of contact.
I think that was a little bit of a touch. The 4, though, steady all the way through, and now he is on the straight. And watch him probably, I assume, disappear from the Porsche. He's already making a little bit of a gap. And that is at least for another split second, he can maybe take a single breath and then go right back to it.
I gotta say, like, Doyle looks like he's got those corners down pat. So it's a matter of if, you know, the Mustang's gonna make a mistake or not.
He has definitely made a few mistakes, but he's looking steady the last few laps, knowing that he's only got a few minutes left on these tires. I do want to very briefly talk about the sharp end of the field, though, because honestly, not much has happened since the pit stops, but a lot has happened through the race. A story to tell. Jared Troxclair, of course, didn't have the most amazing qualifying, ended up losing quite a bit of his time and wasn't able to get to the front row of the grid. John Archie and Matt Anastasi in the Ferrari Pro classes who took the P1, P2 at Barcelona last week. I need to make sure I'm not lying, and it is in fact, yeah, John Archie and Anastasi are in P2 and P5 respectively, as the Porsche finally looking at a little bit of a run here, but just not quite enough. Splat right in between those Ferraris are those Mustangs. Ivan McCroat in P1 of the silver class in the overall podium position, and Nick Son, his teammate, right behind him in P4. I don't think that these guys have too much left as well. Nick Son and Ivan McCroat aren't that far behind John Archie. Ivan might be able to make a
right
run
on the tail
at the end of the race here to maybe make his way up into P2 as well, as we're seeing just battles up and down the field here. The number 4 car is still holding on to it for now, but here is the 85 of John Archie, GRR Kit Kat Cartel, P1 in the points and P2 out on the track. Half a second between him and Ivan McCroat. Silver P1 has had the most amazing drive that we have seen here today. He's been such a fast car in this Ford Mustang GT3. His teammate just defending him behind. Any little slip-ups covered by his teammate behind him and making sure that he can stay up on that podium position, and he has done it so far. Here they are out on the start-finish straight, looking like 2 laps to go as they're going to cross the line. He's got 2 laps to make up, about 0.6 of a second to make sure that he's in P2 when he crosses the line for that last time. Jared Troxclair just well ahead of these guys, 6 seconds up. Nick Son about 5 seconds behind them. They have all the room in the world to battle one-on-one the last couple laps. John Archie really solid, though, in this Ferrari. He is just looking very solid over all the curbs. He's able to take the sausages in the right place, not bounce his car. As long as he doesn't hit them in the wrong spot, he should be able to stay steady. As long as the Mustang can't outrun him on the straight, I think that will be the chance for McCroat to potentially take that position from him, keeping that half second between them. There is a yellow flag out on the circuit. Looks like we had the 11 car spin just a little bit coming into, I believe that is into the first chicane. That is not the first time they've spun there. Unfortunately, Matthew Schwartz really having a struggle here at the end of the race. I think on those old tires, just not doing well, struggling a lot towards the end of the race here. Looks like he's actually going to clip, no, he didn't clip the grass there. I think he maybe just clipped the curb. There it is. See, this is what I was just talking about with Archie. Archie, so solid over those, but you have to hit them in the right spot. Schwartz, unfortunately for him, not in the right spot most of the back half of this race. Those tires struggling, screaming to be replaced, those Pirellis, and just not able to catch it up. He's down at the back end of the field as we go to Paul Hartman, who we've actually seen a lot of this race, Aaron, following his teammate Queso from that mistake, making up the positions. He's at least got +1 since he made that mistake earlier, and he's breathing down the neck of Queso now.
That Audi, oh my Lord. He's going to have to contend with both teammates right now.
And there is the leader on the final lap. Jared Troxclair now taking the final lap. That is one more lap to go for this entire field. Hartman is going to just stay behind Queso there. He's going to try and make a run, of course, down the last bit of the circuit. Ivan and John Archie, P2, P3, still fighting for that final podium position. I just saw Ivan McCroat make one heck of a run onto Archie down into turn 2. Wasn't able to quite get it done, though, and it has fallen back just a couple tenths. This is where he will be weak on the circuit as they come out into Tossa. This will be the weakest part of the circuit for him. He needs to try and just keep it as close as possible to Archie and make sure that he can stay on the tail end of that, so he can make the run across the line. The start-finish line is really far down the circuit out of
Right.
the last corner, so you have plenty of time to get in a draft. If you get a good run out of Ravaza, you can make that pass done. Jared Troxclair still with the purple lap, still out ahead, almost 7 seconds ahead of P2. He's going to, I believe, coast to victory, as I just saw him go way off the track at Aqua Minerale as well. He needs to be careful not to get himself a drive-through on the last lap, but he's
Yeah.
keeping it steady for the moment. The GT3 Mustang right behind Archie here has fallen back a little bit. They're going to come down into the last chicane here, and I don't think that Mustang's got anything with him. This might be John Archie done and dusted. No mistakes can happen
Right.
from this 85, or he will be done. This is the final. Jared Troxclair taking Ravaza for the final time. Let's switch over to our race winner here. Jared Troxclair coming out of the final corner. This is the Neon Blade Runners 222. This was the driver who could not lock out the front low in qualifying. He made the undercut. He pit on lap 9. He made it all the way to the end in P1. Fantastic strategy from the 222 720S Jared Troxclair, taking the victory here for race 2 at Imola. John Archie across the line in P2. Ivan McCroat P1 for silver, P3 overall, and Nixon, his teammate, coming home P4, which is P3 overall for the pro class. And Anastasi, 87, locking out that last
Yeah.
spot in the 5th. Nick non-arced, coming in 6th place. A fantastic run from this BMW M4 driver. Such a solid race from them. No dramas. Ended up P6. That's P2 in class for him. Cody Platt, Jeremy Reeder, Joel Moffitt, Brian Anderson are going to round out your top 10. And then Douglas Mitchell, who made no moves the last 20 minutes of the race, but still ended up P11 in the Badmans. Number 10 720S is going to take home 11th. White's Carver behind him, McDonald's behind him, Artem, and then Queso to finish out the top 15. I said so many words, and there was so much stuff happening in the last hour, Aaron. Please stop
It
for a
is
second.
perfectly fine. All I was gonna say was I was watching Archie go, like, such a good defend. Like, that Mustang just couldn't hold it. It was just so he had to settle for that third place, and they all did very, very well though. Those top threes, awesome.
And top 3 is really what you want. I am so impressed that these Mustangs really made the run that they did. Right, they locked out qualifying pretty dang well. They locked out the first part of the race, following in P1, P2, all the way up to the pit stops. They got the undercut from Jared Troxclair, who ended up taking P1, and then the Ferraris split them. Great pit stops by the Ferraris. A little bit of a struggle from Anastasi. Ended up down in P5, but such a great run for Ivan McCroat. He's going to be so happy with that finish.
I agree. That was a fantastic victory. Like, just way above, like, way farther ahead of everyone. He seemed to be very consistent. It was great.
I am going to try to track me down a Jared Troxclair for a potential to get a little interview here. Jared. Let me see if we can pull him in here. I'll see if we get a response from him. And Jared, it just again, such a good drive for him. I'm super happy the undercut really worked for him. I think that generally with the tire stop that we do see here in SRA, that generally doesn't happen. You generally see that 30-minute pit stop almost exclusively really work out for the most part. But here today at Imola, the undercut worked. He set up his car to make sure that happened, that worked. He ran from lap 9 all the way to the end. We did 35 laps, by the way. He ran 26 laps on those tires faster than most people did in about 16, 17 laps. So a fantastic drive for Jared. And I am going to step out of the comms box just very briefly and try and wrangle me a Jared while you discuss that finish real quick.
That was some fantastic racing today. I do have to agree.
I have found myself a Jared Troxclair. Hello, Jared.
Hello, hello.
We have been, or Singing your praises since lap 9, sir, when you made that pit stop. You couldn't quite get it done in the qualifying to really get up to the sharp end of the grid. You came really close, but just not quite enough. What was the strategy going in once you realized that you couldn't lock out those first couple rows? I mean, was the strategy to pit early the entire time, or how did we make that happen today?
Uh, kind of, yeah. In quality, it might seem a bit rude by saying that that was one of my worst qualifyings. My PB going into today was a 47, so I knew there was a lot of time left on the table coming out of quali. But I couldn't complain about starting third. Second row ain't too bad considering it being your worst lap. Um, but yeah, going into the race, I kind of had the idea of undercutting, but it was only with the stipulation that the guys ahead of me were going to be slower on race pace, which turned out to end up being the case. Uh, it was really hard to follow them. I felt like I was a bit more braver into the chicanes, able to send it a bit more without, sacrificing too much on tire deg. And so once we got around to like 48, 45 minutes to go is when I kind of locked in the undercut and uh, the two Fords ahead, losing time here and there, kept adding up. They kept getting pulled back closer and closer to me, and in my head, I was just like, I got if I'm doing it, I'm doing it now. And so I did. I didn't get the perfect pit stop, and so I was like, "Oh man, I really hope this didn't screw me over." I undershot my box somehow, which
Ooh.
you never really do. But when you do it, you're like, "Well, you're kind of dumb." Um, but luckily, I was able to just keep my head down. There's a lot of open space where I came out, able to put in PB after PB. 41-1 was something I didn't really think that the car had it in it
Dude,
with me in the
we
me in the
we
seat.
talked about that 41-1 for a couple minutes. That was a hell of a lap.
Yeah, that one shocked me too. Even the 41-3 when I did that, I was like, okay, I'm not really gonna get too much faster than that. Even though I knew where the two extra tenths were in the race or in the lap itself, but when I actually put it together, I was like, geez. Then seeing myself get ahead of Archie on on the undercut was really helpful. It gave me the confidence I was able to just keep my head down and get back to work.
Yeah. So for your reference, you had a pit stop that was approximately 3 seconds slower than most of the field because of the aforementioned issues you had with your pit box,
Yeah.
and still came out on top. I think that undercut really worked. You really did have the pace. Nobody could touch you for that purple lap. You locked that in handedly. Such a great job today on that. So looking at last week and now this week, how are you feeling about this? About the overall series for the remainder of the 6 races?
I feel pretty good. For next week though, I'm actually tomorrow I got to fly out for business. I got work this weekend. I don't get back until Monday, so I might be a little slower than expected after this race. So maybe I'll be able to do something like this again. Maybe not. I will be working with limited time, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be a little less practice. Suzuka, have we got experience at Suzuka?
Yeah, I've got, it's one of the most preferred tracks by a lot of drivers. I've run it a lot through various leagues, LFM and whatnot. I've always been a little bit slower, uh, at least for my self standards. I feel like I've been a little bit slower, but if I'm able to just lock in, get some laps down, see where I'm making the mistakes, I feel like I could get back up to the top slot. Going into the next race, even with limited time, it just really comes down to the energy I have left once I get back from this trip.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, and others. Jared Choxclair, definitely rather confident, I think, going into the rest of the season. But with the stipulations of, well, there are a lot of other fast drivers on the track as well. But a fantastic job today, Jared. Is there anyone you want to shout out on the stream here? Any sponsors, family, anything like that?
I'll shout out my teammate Brian. I think he was involved in an incident a little bit earlier. He doesn't really know if he was fully at fault or the other driver. But he kept his head down and he just got back to work. Had a nice recovery. I think he said he got up to P10, which is really good. Even without whether it is his fault or not with the incident, it's still a great recovery nonetheless.
So Jared finished P7 last week, and his teammate Brian Anderson P38. Brian Anderson definitely on a recovery drive for the teammates, but you're really bringing up the team points here, Jared. Congratulations on the win today.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see you next week. And joining us now as well, our silver class leader, and perhaps the man that I was the most impressed by today, because damn that handling of that Ford Mustang GT3, Ivan. One hell of a drive, dude.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. That was
Um,
a lot better than expected.
so was it? That was going to be my question. Were you not expecting that pace coming in to round 2 here at Imola?
No, not even close. Like I didn't think that I would be able to set that qualifying lap that I did, and there was even a little bit more room left there, but I couldn't put it together. And then the drive itself was like the car didn't feel great. It felt a little bit looser than I wanted. It came into its own in the second stint, but um, pushing so hard against Archie, I kind of like spent the tires, and you could tell in the last like 5 minutes they just had nothing left. But before then, it was a good fight.
It really was a good fight. Nick, your teammate, seemed to be on the defensive here for you for the first part of the race. Was that planned, or did you just get out ahead of him and he just ended up keeping the Ferraris behind you?
No, he made a small mistake, which is how I got ahead of him, and then he kept them back. Like he fought for his position. He wasn't trying to slow them down so that I could get further ahead. He was just racing them hard, and he managed to keep it, which is great. Like dude's awesome.
Yeah,
I
because
got
the
lucky.
Ferraris, of course, the Ferraris did so well last week at Barcelona. You guys really didn't have that much of a to say about them last week. So just a fantastic drive by those
Yeah.
Mustangs today. How are you feeling going into Suzuka?
I'm really familiar with the track, but I don't know how well the Mustang's gonna do. It's so technical, and the Mustang is so hard to like keep on track, especially when tire wear is involved. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm very familiar with the pit wall at Suzuka as well, so I'm kind of scared of that.
Oh, that's not what you want to hear. Is that coming into the pit lane and skipping that little bump that's coming into the pit lane there and jamming into the wall?
It's sort of like being on full throttle going into the pit lane, telling my friends full throttle or nothing as I hit the grass and the car
Oh,
comes around.
yeah, that sounds like Suzuka. There's not a lot of traction in that final corner of Suzuka, regardless of the situation. More or less trying to dive into the pit lane.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely should have been smarter, but it sums it up about how I drive.
Well,
Yeah.
so I said this early in the broadcast for one of the other drivers, and perhaps it might apply to you as well. This week, not just race practice, perhaps some pit lane entry practice.
Oh yeah, a lot, a ton. Just pit lane entry. That's it.
uh, One last actual question for you is how are we feeling for the rest of the season? Like I know you said you weren't super confident going into Imola, Barcelona. You guys did okay, but definitely not up at the sharp end of the field. How are we feeling for the rest of the season? How are you liking the Mustang on these tracks so far?
I, I love it. It's such a fun car to drive because you just ruin people's days on the straight. It's So like that part is great, and that's kind of what I wanted this season anyway. I didn't want to take it too seriously and put in too many laps worth of practice. Enough to be familiar with it and then learn. Part of the reason I chose the Mustang is because I'm really bad with my throttle control. I just slam it down and hope for the best. And this car kind of makes you rethink that. So I decided to drive it, and it just so happens that it also has incredible top speed and will just ruin you. So it's fun. However the season finishes, it's going to be fun for me. But I am kind of the way that race one went. I was like, okay, this is about par for the course.
Uh,
It sucks, but it is what it is. And the way the race two went, I'm like super surprised. So I don't know where I'm going to end up by the end of it. I hope that this continues, but if I can make top 10, that'd be great.
Well, so far, I think that is well within the shot. Of course, Ivan finished, I believe, P8 last week, and of course, P1 to this week. Nick Son didn't do so well at Barcelona, P39. So the Madhouse Racing team close enough. Well, they've got a lot of work for the team series to make up, but Ivan and Nick really slamming it home this week. Such a fantastic drive, Ivan, and congratulations on the win and P2 overall. Is there anyone you want to shout out? Anyone you want to thank? Sponsors, family, anything like that?
Oh hell yeah! Nick, my teammate, he's super awesome. I love him. Koa Dromo for being super awesome. Love him too. That's it. Those guys are great. Give him a shout out.
Oh, fantastic. This is Ivan. I hope I haven't butchered your name for the past hour. Is it Ivan McCroat?
It's McCroat is fine. It's technically McCroat, but
Croat.
McCroat rhymes with goat, so how can I complain?
So you are the goat of Imola today. Ivan McGoat coming in P1 in silver, P2 overall, and a fantastic drive for the Madhouse Racing Team. Ivan, congratulations, and we will see you at Suzuka next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Well, Aaron, 60 minutes of action-packed racing we just had. The undercut, it was in fact the play here at Imola. Troxclair really nailing that home. The Ferraris managing to split the Mustangs, who just had such a fantastic drive, and of course Ivan coming in P2 for silver, P1 or P2 overall, P1 in silver. A really fantastic drive by them. What is your take home from today's race?
I mean, honestly, if if I ever get fast enough, I think that undercut really is the way to go. But since we're in D5, I think like pitting in that freaking middle ground is probably the best for us. But overall, I'm very proud of our first places in both gold and silver, and they overall did a very good job, especially with that pole position Mustang lap that they did in quali. That was fantastic. And then our gold driver coming through with the win after having those issues with that quali that he was having issues with. It's just all around bringing it home. Fantastic.
Fantastic racing, exactly what I've come to expect here at SRA. Again, if you would like to come join us, please do. You can take a look at the Discord link and the website link down in the description of the Twitch in the About section. And of course, pull that up, join the Discord, pull up the website, come in, do a couple laps here for qualifying. Join us in the team series. Aaron and I race on Tuesdays in Division 5. And of course, Division 1 and 4, I believe, are also, 4 and 5 and 1 race on Tuesdays, and 2 and 3 and 6 race on Wednesdays. And that has been Division 2, Round 2 here at Imola. A fantastic race here for everybody today. Congratulations to Troxclair. Congratulations to the McGoat. And we will see them next week at Suzuka.
Yeah.
This has been SRA. I've been Mike Jones, Curtis Lade behind the camera, Aaron Moreno joining me on the mic. We'll see you next week.